Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Write this down.
All right, boys. It's a big day here on Purple Daily.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
2 episodes for you today. We got the Write That Down predictions, the accountability session, the only show in America that actually puts statistics next to our predictions. Yes, we are one of those shows. And Judd's Camp Notes, little bonus episode. You'll be back out there again today, so you've got a notebook full of handwritten goodies for us on a bonus episode today.
I put just a little bit of a taste on Twitter last night, just a little bit with the pen. But the pen was covering up the JJ McCarthy statistics for a reason.
Thought you strategically did that, placed that pen there. The 7-on-7 statistics. So we'll get into all of it here, at least on this particular episode, presented by North American Banking Company, powering these Write That Down predictions. Minnesota-based bank since 1998. They now have 6 locations across the Twin Cities. And whether you're looking for something big, like buying a home, help with the mortgage process, tackling a renovation, maybe you're financing something or starting a new business, or you just want a better checking and savings experience. I don't know, maybe where you can like get a hold of a real human being. Well, North American Banking Company is here to help you. They specialize in personal relationships, cutting-edge online tools, and you can find out more information at nabankco.com/Mackey. nabankco.com/Mackey. They will make your transition easy. And it could be a game-changing banking experience for you. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Write this down.
All right, dudes. Let's just get right into it here. Here's how Write That Down works if you're uninitiated. It's 3 Vikings or football-related predictions from everybody on the show and a guest listener predictor each week. They must be quantifiable. We keep track of completion percentage and touchdowns. The season runs from Super Bowl to Super Bowl. And if you want to participate like Waleed is about to, you can send Declan a message through the Score North app, and we will get you scheduled in the coming weeks. All right, let's start with Judd, as we usually do. Nothing came off the board.
Okay.
It's kind of a dead time right now. Not a whole lot coming off the board.
Yep.
So we'll highlight a prediction still on the board. You said Kirk Cousins will be a starting... Kirk Cousins! Will be a starting quarterback for an AFC team. Well, the Steelers are off the board. Kind of feels like the Browns are off the board.
I really thought I was in good shape here.
I think
what's your path?
You're probably just, like not hoping, but assuming a training camp injury to like a starting quarterback.
Sure.
Like a Bradford situation.
Let's go. But
where a guy's knee just explodes.
At the time I made this prediction, though, I felt pretty good about it, right? Because like the Steelers were out there for sure. Like I thought the Browns made perfect sense. But
yeah, now it's like
now
even in the NFC, it feels like all the needy teams either drafted someone or have an Aaron Rodgers.
Although I didn't put a timetable on this, so I would say that this could extend into the season. He could be a starting quarterback. Like he could get dealt.
Well, that's kind of the I mean, in the absence
it doesn't have to be week 1.
Yeah, I think for like the spirit of this, we would extend this to really the end of the year, like
the end of the season, and then that's it. So I can't be like in 2028. Kirk Cousins is 41 years old and he's starting for the Jets.
The Chargers finally snagged Kirk Cousins, and he started a game in week 8 because Justin Herbert was hurt. So I had one thing come off the board.
Hey,
I told you. The end of the regular season, the Battlehawks dismantled the Defenders because the Defenders didn't want to show anything for their playoff matchup the next week. And the Defenders came back, and they squashed the Battlehawks to get to the championship round of the UFL, right? It's the XFL and the USFL, and then they merge as the UFL.
And they've got a big game coming up against?
The Michigan Panthers.
Very good.
Is it?
Yes, it is the Michigan Panthers. The DC Defenders against the Michigan Panthers. For all the marbles, if I may say so myself.
I think the Michigan Panthers also pulled the upset. I think it was 2 road teams going in as underdogs in the semifinal round.
The original Panthers were Anthony Carter's team.
So is that an original USFL team,
Yes,
the Michigan Panthers?
Panthers were an original USFL team.
Wow.
Yeah, the DC Defenders, I think, were an XFL team. But yeah, the Michigan Panthers. That's the thing I don't get is, so the original Memphis team, as I recall, was the Showboats, which is a great name. And now it's some like stupid name.
John DeFilippo, I think, coached Memphis in like the first year of the UFL, or like 2 years ago. He was the head coach.
Life comes at you fast.
Still wants to fight Zim, I think.
Listeners, nothing came off the board, so we'll highlight this one from Danny. Danny said the 2025 Vikings will win the Super Bowl. Now, in fairness, Danny used all three of his predictions to predict the 2024 Vikings would win the Super Bowl, the 2025 Vikings would win the Super Bowl, and the 2026 Vikings would win the Super Bowl.
I like it.
So he's one down. He's got one wrong, but he's got these next two cracks at it. And Declan actually had a busy week. You had three things come off the board.
I'll take
You said Asante Samuel will sign with an NFC team sometime in the last week. Still trying to prove that he's healthy. You said Aaron Rodgers would remain unsigned throughout the month of June. And this one should have come off the board last week. I just forgot to put it on here. But I think the time crunch of it, you said like at the beginning of May that Kwesi would have a contract extension done between like the first week in May and June 1st. We're going to give you a tud there.
Red zone, Teddy.
And it was like May 30th. It was right up to the
nose.
Deadline there.
Okay.
So on the season here, and again, it's still very early because this thing runs through the Super Bowl. There's going to be a bajillion things that come off the board during the season, training camp, etc. So, but I'm sitting at 57.5% completions, Judd 48.5%, Declan 38%, listeners 28.5%. Judd and I both have 3 touchdowns, Declan with 2. Listeners still looking for their first touchdown on the season. All-time stats, Declan leads the completion percentage department just a tick under 37%. I lead the touchdown department with 61 career touchdowns. So, all right, there's your accountabilities. Let's get Waleed in here, making his debut as a guest listener predictor. What's going on, Waleed?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. How are you? How you guys doing?
Well, Judd's got the bronzed face from standing out, observing practice for all of us.
Are you kidding? It's Judd's Camp Notes 3 consecutive days. I'm doing fantastic. No better time. Like, this is the final, by the way, the final gear up, too. This is really it.
Before training camp.
Before we get to training camp, yeah.
So they also have an OTA session next week?
Yeah.
Do you get access to that? Like, does media get to go out there for any of those?
I think there's one day, but I believe the veterans depart after this. I don't think that they'll, I believe they've also canceled that in the past.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so up until last year, ordinarily, you did a 3-day mini camp. You did 2 days, and then you always went and played some like paintball or something, or went bowling on the 3rd day.
Paintball sounds very
that has been cleaned up now, and I think part of the quid pro quo is next week either gets canceled, but the veterans do not have to be there. So the Vikings will do 3 days. So this is it. Like this is before the summer hits. This is going to be our last taste of what the Minnesota Vikings might look like when training camp starts.
Wow. So to answer your question, Waleed, we're doing great.
Yeah.
We're doing
Waleed, let me show you a little something here. I'm just going to give you a sneak peek. But when the Camp Notes,
You get so excited for this.
multiple color pens in use. We got some green for the starting quarterback. I mean, formations right there.
Oh.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be a lot.
So give us your background as a Vikings fan. How'd you get hooked on this team?
So I'm a relatively recent Vikings fan compared to, the people who say that they joined in 98 or 2009. I joined during kind of the dregs of the Zimmer era, which is a rarer spot to join, but it was more because I was introduced to the NFL during that time. So over here in the UK, it's got quite big in the last decade or so. And I had to choose a team. And just there's something about the Vikings when I looked into the history and whatever, the fan base, it's just perennially good. But just, they just deserve one before we die.
Yeah.
Since then, that was years ago now, just following every day, listening to you guys as well. And here we are now.
That's awesome. So do you have like a group of friends that all pick different teams, or what was your like selection process leading up to picking the Vikings?
It was more so kind of looking through the teams. Obviously, you don't want to pick at the time like the Patriots or the Chiefs or anything like that. And then it also resonated with me personally because I grew up in the Netherlands, and the Dutch football, or as you would say, soccer team, are famously kind of got to the World Cup final in '74 and '78, so very close to the Vikings times, and couldn't get over the hump then. So, but that was just kind of the start. Since then, I've got really into the Vikings football.
And now here you are on a daily Vikings podcast about to make predictions. If someone would have told you 10 years ago, Waleed, this is going to be you in 2025.
Yeah.
So right now, are you more of a football guy or a football guy?
Honestly, I've probably switched to more of a football guy. Football. There we go.
Love it.
The real American football.
Us Americans.
Amazing. So, all right. Well, you're going to start off with your first prediction, Waleed, then over to Judd, Dex, back to me. We'll make 3 trips around the room as usual. So if you're ready,
write this down.
We're ready. Fire away.
All right. For my first prediction, I wanted to give some love to the London games in the sense that I've got tickets to the Browns game this year, went to the Saints and Jets games in the last few years as well, and little 3-item parlay. So write this down. The Vikings will beat the Cleveland Browns to go 4-1 or better, and TJ Hockenson will catch a receiving touchdown during the game from Thor's Pookie himself, JJ McCarthy.
Pookie.
I love the amount of people creeped out by that in the comment section too.
I love it.
Like, okay,
I love it.
This was fun for like a year and change, and now it's just, why is he calling him Pookie? So yeah,
he's looking in his window. Thor's like, "Good morning, JJ.
I'd find you."
That's really creepy.
All right, Judd.
Okay, I'm going to stick on actually the TJ Hockenson theme, and I'm going to give you a write that down off what was my hot take, or is this a hot take, on Monday. TJ Hockenson will lead NFL tight ends in receptions this season.
Oh man, you're putting your money where your mouth is.
I'm going for it. What the heck?
Yeah. Well, I think part of it for him is just because a couple years ago, I don't think he was on pace to lead the category, but he was definitely on the verge of like 1,000 or 1,200 yard season before, because it was like 2 or 3 games left, and he was almost to 1,000 yards. So just stay healthy for a full season, and let's see what the 17 game statistical profile looks like.
I'm going to give you a little tease, not too much, but a little tease for Judd's camp notes on the bonus PD, and tell you that after watching yesterday, especially though, I have a JJ McCarthy observation that emboldens my Hockenson. Write that down.
Wow, that he's a conservative check down Charlie, and he moves immediately off of the down the field chunk reads to his safety blanket tight end, and it's a red flag.
You better watch out, or
the Vikings
Thursday
should be looking at the draft in 2026 for a new quarterback.
Or Thursday might take his talents elsewhere.
Back over to Declan.
Write this down.
Write this down. Josh Metellus will have a new contract or a contract extension at some point in the month of June. So they'll get this contract done in the month of June. So I'll make another one like I did with Kwesi. So new contract for Metellus. Tell us with Metellus. Tell us a new contract, Josh. New contract in this month.
I feel like if it doesn't get done basically in the next couple of days, I don't think it's a touchdown prediction here, which we should determine. But like, if it doesn't get done while they're all kind of there and around each other, then it might drag till the start of training camp, because that would be the next logical deadline. Right?
I would say, if for it to be a tutty, I'd probably have to give like a small amount of days, because like I think it's going to happen. Like I think this is inevitable. But I'll take just the completion, and I'll say during this month.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually wouldn't be floored if it got done today or tomorrow too. So. I don't know anything.
Phil?
I'm just saying it feels like it feels like it should
do
be
it.
Sometimes I can't tell during Judd's camp notes if it's like reporter Judd,
Well, I
who was
talked
the
to
longtime
Metellus
lead
yesterday.
beat writer, or if he's just speculating.
In talking to Metellus yesterday, it does not feel like there's an iota of animosity here. So I just feels like it's very close.
Yeah, and they're just they're hacking through these things. They got the Van Ginkel one done, then Josh Oliver, and like they're just kind of
they're paying guys.
Write this down.
They're throwing the money.
And they've always paid. For the most part, they've always paid guys. There's been a couple instances where, okay, maybe Daniil didn't get exactly what he wanted, but they found two different paths with Daniil Hunter too, where they kind of got something done. It's not a team like you see what's going on with the Bengals and even that like the first round draft pick kid is getting savaged for this thing, but apparently the Bengals, because he's like sitting out all these rookie practices and stuff.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing, dude? Because all the other guys will just go and practice and like the deal's going to get done. It's a slot. You're not negotiating a price. It's a slot value. But apparently the Bengals are like trying to sneak stuff into these contracts that isn't standard for first round picks, where they can a portion of your money becomes non-guaranteed in certain spots. I don't know, but like the Vikings don't operate in bad faith.
Like Bush League? No, they don't.
Yeah.
Write this down.
Okay, I'm going to rely on Judd's camp notes for this, but I did see a report that JJ McCarthy, he threw an interception at least yesterday. Mm-hmm. And in the last at least 3 documented media-attended practices, he has thrown an interception in all of them, I think, in the last 3 or 4.
The 3 so 2 OTAs were open. He threw one in each of those, and then yesterday he threw one. Yeah,
which I'm fine with, by the way. You can throw a handful of interceptions here and there as long as you're hitting on big plays. Sam Darnold kind of showed that. But here's my prediction: JJ McCarthy will not throw a documented interception in OTA or in a mandatory minicamp day 2 today. So I'm going to rely on your eyes. Yeah. Are you planning on because you did the McCarthy thing yesterday? Are you going to have your eyes on him again today for every? Yeah,
I will tell you this though. I think the only thing, just to clarify this a little bit, I think the only drills that this should apply to is 7-on-7. The 11-on-11 is like installation. I think it's less than half speed.
Okay.
So
I can specify that 7-on-7.
It's pretty non-competitive. The 7-on-7, as O'Connell said on the first day of OTAs, the 7-on-7 is more of a passing camp, so it's actually full speed stuff. So I would say that your prediction applies to 7-on-7.
Okay. Let's do it.
Write this down.
Waleed, what's your second prediction?
So for my second prediction, I'm going to talk a bit more about the fact that Kevin O'Connell does like his trick plays, especially in big games. And Justin Jefferson is 5 of 8 passing during his NFL career. Everyone remembers the pass to Kirk in that Giants game on our own 30 on 3rd and 1. So we'd hope KOC learned from that, but we'll see. I think, write this down, Justin Jefferson will throw a passing touchdown during the 2025 regular or postseason.
Love this.
I've been going for this for 3 years, man. Yes. He's got a cannon.
What's funny, though, is Judd's been predicting this, but also resents when they ratchet up the trick plays.
Well, okay, let's be very clear. Here's what I hated. Do you guys remember that cross field pass?
Yeah.
That one was bad.
That's a destructive. There is nothing good. I don't even want my quarterback throwing that. It's a destructive play. If he gets the ball and throws it downfield, I got no problem with that.
So what would coming around on a reverse or something and then pulling up to throw as like the backside route go, like Jalen Naylor or somebody is streaking down the field, something like that? Okay.
How about a lateral?
Like a post route.
Yeah, if it's documented as an ESPN passing touchdown.
Yep.
That's good enough.
How about a lateral? So a behind the line, this is what you could do. Behind the line pass to Jefferson.
So you throw you take the snap, he's lined up like a yard behind the line of scrimmage, you throw it back there.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's
and then he throws it down. Okay.
It's like the Kirk play that I mentioned where in that Giants playoff game, he passes it, I think, to Jefferson on a lateral, but Jefferson's quite out wide, and then he throws a cross-field pass to Kirk as the receiver. And then he just gets blown up straight away because Kirk's receiving the ball.
It is funny. Like what Tom Brady diving in the Super Bowl, was it? It's always like you're diagramming these plays like, oh, man, and no one's going to account for like the old slow-footed quarterback and like he's going to be wide open. Then in reality, you watch that dude try and catch up to the pass. It's always hilarious.
Write this down.
Okay, we're back to Judd here. Second prediction.
Okay, write this down. The Vikings will use at least once this season, once or more, a tush push with JJ McCarthy being pushed by Jordan Mason. How about that for specifics? Specific. Okay. Jordan Mason.
Okay, so it's got to be McCarthy with the ball and Jordan Mason with a hand on the tush or multiple hands on the tush.
I think they're going to get it right this time. In other words, Brandon Powell will not be tush pushing.
Okay. So as long as Jordan Mason is behind JJ McCarthy making contact, we're gonna count this with forward momentum.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, sounds good.
Write that down.
Dex?
All right, write this down. Jair Alexander will sign with an NFC North team.
Oh, wow.
I think he's going to really want to stick it to Green Bay, play them twice a year. So Jair will sign with the Lions, Bears, or Vikings.
And then Green Bay's schedule, they got the Steelers they're just going to be navigating all these revengeful former players. Aaron Rodgers. Did you see any of that press conference, by the way?
A little bit. I saw he got married.
He confirmed he got married like a couple months ago. And he talked about how, what went into your decision. He said, I just have always had this respect for Mike Tomlin, and I just feel like this decision is something that was good for my soul. Good for my soul. Very much at peace with how the last couple of years have transpired.
I saw the reel of the Big Daddy scene where he's got a 5-year plan, and it's Mike Tomlin as Sid and Aaron Rodgers as Adam Sandler's girlfriend, and then Steelers fans. What is it? Don't die? What's our plan here?
Don't die?
Write this down.
Okay, write this down. I keep seeing all these photos and videos of jacked up Jalen Naylor. Contract year. He's got the Deebo Samuel look going on now, the number change. So write this down. All these factors. Best shape of his life. He was a very effective number 3 receiver with some drop problems last year, but he will be given a chance to be the number 3 receiver again. And Jordan Addison might still get suspended for a chunk. So write this down. At some point this season, Jalen Naylor will have either a 100-yard and or multi-touchdown game. So in last year, for context, he had an 81-yard game in week 16, a 76-yard game in week 7, and then he had like a 50-yard game. And he had a handful of touchdowns, but at no point did he have multiple touchdowns or 100 yards. So I would stump for this to be a touchdown if it happens.
Okay.
If we could make note, unless you guys want to fight that. Sports Dad?
I feel like for 7, over the course of a whole season, I feel like he's going to stumble into one of those two. Okay. So I think you got to be either like a.
I'd have to say range. He'll have both at some point in the season.
Both, or I would say if the committee allows, within the first month of the season, because then you're putting it in a smaller range, and it has to happen during this area.
Okay.
Is that fine, Judd?
I'll say before the bye. Before the bye.
Before the bye.
Yep. There you go.
Before the bye. We'll put a
touchdown.
Let's go. All right, we'll lead back to you for your third and final prediction.
So for my last prediction, I wanted to give love to Minnesota sports in general, including the Vikings. And in terms of, I think we're at a point right now where the Wolves are as good as they've ever been. The Vikings, I think I'm a lot more bullish than most people are with the 8.5 win projection. And then, with the Wild and Twins, we might be a tiny bit off, but regardless, I think my prediction is going to be, write this down, out of the major 4 men's teams in Minnesota, there will be 2 championships by the end of the 2026 season.
Wow.
So that could be Wolves, it could be Vikings, Wolves, it could be, who knows, it might be the Twins. But no, any 2.
But let's be serious.
It won't be the Wild. We're almost certain of that.
And so for the 26, are we including the 26-27 season in there too? Because the next Wolves and Wild are 25-26. So we'll go through the 2026-27 seasons to get you the full credit there. Love it, man. So have the Vikings been this vortex into all of the other Minnesota sports teams too for you?
Yeah, it's been bizarre. I can't really explain it. It's one of them things where I started watching the Vikings. I loved American football in general, the NFL in general, kind of the concept of the salary cap and all that stuff. And then The fact that, one team can be terrible and then 2 years later they can be amazing. But then once I got into Minnesota sports in general, watching podcasts like you guys, it's just kind of made me delve deeper and deeper. And it got to a point where I was, watching OKC beat us up, knowing that we were 3-1 down. It's probably the end, but still, it's like 4 a.m. here and I'm watching. So,
oh, wow.
It is what it is.
I actually have one more question before we give you your shout out platform. So, like most European top soccer leagues or football leagues, they don't have salary cap structures. They like the EPL has a relegation structure where the bottom teams. And there's drama there, too, because at the end of the season, it's like these crappy teams are trying to avoid getting kicked out of the league for a year and demoted. So, I mean, it sounds like you're well-versed in both formats. Do you prefer the salary cap structure of sports that you watch? And how would, like, some of your friends and just generally people that are familiar with both formats say that they prefer it?
Yeah, I think I definitely do prefer the salary cap format in the sense that in our football, soccer, you've got teams like Manchester City who were, nobody about 15, 20 years ago. And then they've been bought by owners, very, very rich owners, and now they're dominating the league. And it's, it's still really entertaining to watch. But I think the parity of the NFL is kind of a huge draw in terms of the fact that, even if someone is supporting, Kansas City 20 years ago, now suddenly they're a dynasty. So
yeah,
anyone can do that.
Love it, man. Waleed, since you've got this platform here, is there anyone in your life you'd like to thank or shout out before we say goodbye?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to shout out my siblings who I've kind of dragged along with me into the NFL and, going to the games with them as well. So Raheel and Azam, they'll be watching and they'll appreciate the shout out, I think. And then also I wanted to shout out you guys, because I think you guys were a huge gateway into the other Minnesota sports, as well as just kind of, in that first couple of years when I was watching, I learned a lot as well about the sport there.
The gateway drug.
The gateway drug.
Right?
It's free at first, Waleed, but then we start to charge you.
And now you're like, Simeon Woods Richardson. God, man, that guy's a bust. So, Waleed, great stuff. Appreciate you coming on. And hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Thank you, guys.
All right, there he is. Guest listener predictor, Waleed. Purple Daily Worldwide, baby.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get involved, though? Like, that's incredible. Like, I get adopting the Vikings, but then, like, to take on all of our teams is really
well, you
impressive.
at one point, you and I, like 10 years ago, weren't you? You jumped on the Burnley bandwagon, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
and I was Liverpool.
Yeah,
but
I didn't start to adopt teams in like outside. Oh, like look at that rugby team in Burnley. Think I'm going to watch that? Like, this is an impressive commitment to Minnesota sports by Waleed.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of amazing. I feel like most episodes of Vikings Ventline, someone, well, for sure we get like requests from around the world. I would say Dex pretty much every week, but like most weeks someone jumps in from Europe or Asia or somewhere, and it's awesome. It's just really cool to see. And the Vikings, to Waleed's point, you're not getting like 5 years ago. If you're picking a team, if you pick the Patriots, first of all, you're getting your comeuppance because you tried to jump on board a dynasty for 20 years, and now look at them. But there's something, if you're just picking a new team and you're going to become a fan of a team from a different country, whatever, there's something charming about the Vikings because they're competitive. They're not going to be irrelevant in week 3 like 5 other teams in the league.
But they're going to break your heart.
But they're probably going to break your heart. But there's also like they've never won the championship, so there's like a greater mission to the whole fandom.
I feel like they are sort of a soccer club. Like, I feel like there's a lot of, as he talked about, soccer clubs like that, right? Where I also think, don't sell short the name and logo, too. Like, it's really cool. Like, the Vikings.
It is, yeah. It is cool, yeah.
Like, if I'm looking for a team and I don't know a ton about it, am I going to want to be like the Bear? I mean, the Bear's a pretty typical, boring name, right? Like the Lions, okay, whatever. But the Vikings and
it's worldwide, logo,
Yeah, exactly. It's the Vikings, Nordic. I don't know.
Worldwide. It probably does appeal to European fans more than Bears or trying to, like, if you're picking a hockey team, Wild. Just
no. You got no. The Wild's got no. The The Wild?
Wild. So before we make our final predictions here, and again, be on the lookout for a bonus episode of Judd's Camp Notes, also on the Purple Daily podcast feed, Apple, Spotify. And if you haven't already, click that like button and the subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel as we look to keep pushing and growing this incredible community of Vikings fans. But Judd, Neos Elite Performance, led by Eric Sugarman, former head athletic trainer of the Purple.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. And guess what? Shug and his team now, they are helping people who, once loved to play golf or basketball or soccer. And now they've been slowed down by life, knee problems, foot problems. Neos Elite Performance is going to help you end that chronic pain and get you back on the court, on the pitch, on the golf course. Cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapy that's designed to get you going again without invasive procedures. It's what they call white glove service. In other words, Eric and the team at Neos are going to come to your home. They're going to help you get rid of that knee pain, of that back pain. They're going to stop the suffering, restore function, and get you back to doing what you love. Reference Purple Daily, and you're going to get $500 off. That's right, $500 off a cellular IV therapy treatment. No surgery, no downtime, just results from our friends at Neos. It's Neos Elite.com, neoselite.com. Check them out. Get back in the game.
And a shout out to Standard Heating and Air Conditioning here, Dex.
Yeah, exactly. So standard heating can help out with making sure that air conditioning is working properly, especially as we're now in the summer months. And, the good thing about Standard is you don't have to pick up the phone and talk to a human. You can email them. You can text them. You can kind of communicate with them however you wish. They want to make that process even easier for you. So when you get to that house and they're looking at that HVAC and that air conditioning to make sure it's all working because you're not DIYing it, you're letting the experts handle it, tell them that Purple Daily sent you. You can join their Smart Club, which also gives you discount on repairs and priority bookings. Go to standardheating.com for all those HVAC and air conditioning needs.
Write this down.
All right, boys. Final predictions from us here. Judd, what's your third and final?
Okay. Again, a little bit of a tease to the bonus PD today, but just from what I've observed, and I'll elaborate on this in the bonus episode. Write this down. Jay Ward, who has been little used on defense, he's played on special teams, but I sense his role is growing. Let's just say that. Write this down. He will have at least one sack and one interception this season.
Okay. Well,
so I'm not saying he's going to play a ton. I am saying I think he starts to play. Injuries inevitable probably at some point in time, but he's being sort of trained in the Metellus role. Cam Bynum's gone. I think there's going to be an opening. They clearly like the fact that this guy is a positionless football player. He can play some safety, some corner, as we've saw. So at least a sack and an interception.
Yeah, he's a disruptor is how I would characterize him. And he's mostly on special teams in the regular season, but there's a little bit of that the Theo Jackson vibe there too, where he's showing all these flashes in the full team drills and training camp and in preseason, but there just hasn't really been a logical place for him to jump in and play more snaps. So now Theo Jackson's going to get that chance. Have you observed anything from am I spoiling Judd's camp notes? Your guy Theo Jackson?
No. But
now that he's kind of graduated,
but he is a safety.
Yep, he's more 100%.
Jay Ward is sort of a corner safety nickel, very much the Metellus stuff. So that's where I think Jay Ward factors in here, and I like your term. He's more of a disruptor. I think Jackson is a disruptor. He's a very smart player. But, he's going to be playing safety. And he'll show blitz at times and stuff. But Jay Ward has, I think, more of a, how can I put this? He's like a chip that you can move around the board.
Yeah, well, he's, we call Josh Metellus the queen on the chessboard.
Yeah.
So he can be kind of,
Write this down.
Have that quality. Okay, Dex, your final.
All right, I will buy one of the greatest hits that Judd's been playing throughout his camp notes and all of his OTA observations. So write this down. The Vikings will trade or release Sam Howell before Week 1 of the NFL season.
Wow.
I'm gonna buy this.
Bail on him.
I'm gonna buy this now on June 11th. So I should have probably bought the stock a little earlier. Now it's kind of, I feel like it might be at its peak in terms of volatility, but I'm gonna buy it now and say they're gonna trade or release him before Week 1. Write it down.
Interesting. I mean, if you're making an odds list for if Kirk Cousins were to be on a different team before Week 1, now that the Steelers are off the board, wouldn't the Vikings be like, barring an injury? Declan hit it earlier. If there's an injury to someone, then okay. But like, wouldn't QB2 behind JJ McCarthy be the most logical landing spot at this point if he were moved from the Falcons?
I don't know how the Vikings would think about this, but there has not been one practice I've seen yet where I have said, you know what, I think I was wrong about Sammy Boy. So, however they get there, I don't disagree with what the prediction is.
Yeah. And we could fight with Thor tomorrow if we get into the backup quarterback doesn't matter thing, because I think we
Write that down.
disagree with that. But all right, I gave you the Jalen Naylor 100-yard thing here. I'm gonna go to another level with Jordan Addison. So even if he does get suspended, he's gonna play in enough games. I think he wants to show that he is a WR1 for another team at some point. And he's not a free agent for a couple more years. But write this down. Jordan Addison will have a 200-yard or more receiving game in 2025.
Whoa. Okay.
His previous career high is 162. That was the overtime game at the Bears that turned crazy last year. The onside kick and all that chaos. Mm-hmm. He had 8 catches for 162 yards. He's only had 4 career games over 100, kind of shockingly. A 162, 133, 123, 111. I think you're going to see another level for him. I think he views himself as one of those guys, like top 10 receiver in the league. But he's sitting next to Justin Jefferson.
Right.
So
I hear you.
a 200-yard game or more. Yeah. All right. Those are the write that down predictions here, boys.
Write this down.
Little accountability session. And like we said, be on the lookout for Judd's Camp Notes, mandatory mini camp edition. And assuming they do all 3 days this week, we'll do Judd's Camp Notes again tomorrow with Thor, and then we can mix them in as part of Feedback Friday as well. So the season is creeping closer here. We're just a month and a half away from actual training camp. Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. See you.